Welcome, guys! Welcome back to my channel! Yay! And today we're going to be reacting to Mr. Nightmare. This one's called 13 Disturbing True Hiking Horror Stories. Yay! I can't wait for that. Yeah, can't wait to jump into this. But yeah, I got my new bed and everything. So I'm back on track. Yeah. Anyway, please subscribe, turn the notification, and click the bell beside you. Anyway, let's jump right onto it, shall we? Yeah. Here we jump into it, shall we? Bloody ads. They ruin everything. I say that a lot. Well, let's jump right into it. Subtitles. Okay, they're on. E.
I'm a big hiker. I was doing some hiking in Utah during a cross-country trip I was taking after breaking up with who I thought was going to be my fiance. Long story short, I caught her messing around with one of my closest friends. Total betrayal on both sides. I was 31. Utah was actually one of the states I was most excited about passing through. There are some great forests out there that I think every hiker would dream of exploring. I had picked Wasatch National Forest as my Utah destination because I had heard a lot of great things about it. One of its biggest upsides for me was that it had a lot of secluded areas that I could easily access. I prefer hiking alone, so bustling hiking trails swarming with people aren't really my thing. I picked an unnamed area of the forest and drove my car as far down this narrow access road as I could. I parked, stepped out of my car, and took in my surroundings. I geared up and checked my phone. No service, just the.
Yeah, that's not good. Unnamed forest. So, what happens if you're in danger? Oh, can you locate what forest you're at so we know what national park you're at or whatever? Oh, sorry. This one doesn't have a name, so you're gonna. It's a forest near. It's near the tree line. Like, why would you go to an unnamed forest? Seriously? Like, seriously? Come on now.
Way I liked it. I made a mental note of my starting point and began the trek. I know hiking alone in uncharted territory is dangerous, but I don't think I have as much fun following a designated route. I always download the digital map of whatever location I'm planning to explore. A lot of people don't realize that your phone's GPS still functions without service. I know what you're probably thinking, but no, I didn't get lost. I wish I could tell you that that's what the story's about. The reality of what happened to me is something I'm still trying to wrap my head around. My destination was a lookout point at the summit of the mountain, which was maybe 3 or 4 miles away. The terrain was pretty difficult, so I was only clearing about 1.5 miles an hour. About an hour into my hike, it began raining. Although it was light, I refused to continue. Hiking in the rain is a massive pet peeve of mine. Annoyed, I turned around and began retracing my steps. Eventually, I spotted my car in the distance. I was relieved that this failed outing would soon be over. I reached my vehicle and was met with a horrifying sight. All four tires were slashed. The
Damn.
said it. There wasn't a chance in the world that all four tires had been coincidentally punctured. This had been deliberate. I whipped my head around, scanning the forest in every direction. Nothing. I listened as carefully as I could, but anything I might have picked up on was drowned out by the patter of raindrops on leaves and brush. I weighed my options. Without service, I was basically screwed. I'd need to get service so I could call for assistance. But as far as I remembered, I had lost service over 20 miles down the access road. Walking back to civilization seemed like a grueling option. I needed to find high ground. Luckily, the destination I had originally sought out was just that.
Damn. If I was in that scenario where someone slashed my tires, I don't really drive. I don't drive. But if someone slashed my tires while I was hiking, not that I would ever go hiking, and I'd be very concerned. I'd be calling the police. I don't know why this guy is not calling the police, but then again, he doesn't have any service, so. Can't they? Can't you just have 911? Can't you just automatically connect to 911 without service? I thought that you could do that. Or is that just, or is that, I'm very confused. But what would you do in that scenario? Comment down below. Just saying.
Chance it. I didn't feel safe walking 20 miles down a road where I'd basically be out in the open.
No,
Without
me
another
neither.
thought, I turned back towards the woods and began my route once again. I was about halfway to the summit when I picked up on a faint rustling coming from behind me, maybe 40 or so yards away.
No.
It would start and stop in tandem with my movements. I didn't want to
They
try
are
to run.
probably in good
I picked
hoops
up
with
the pace,
slashing your
knowing I was
tires.
probably a faster hiker than whoever or whatever was stalking me. The sun was starting to go down, casting an eerie shadow over the forest. The rain was still falling. I was starting to get nervous. After putting some distance between myself and whatever was stalking me, I cast an inconspicuous glance over my shoulder. I didn't see anything, but someone could have been easily hiding behind any of the countless trees in the forest. Finally, I reached the peak. By some miracle, there actually was service up there. I didn't waste a second, not even pausing to admire the view. I told the police exactly where my car was and explained what happened, including my suspicion that I was being stalked. I also told the operator that I had AAA. I hung up, relieved that someone knew where I was. There was still a glaring problem, though. I'd have to navigate back through the
Oh, they
forest
can
until
track
it was
it by the
getting dark
device.
while somehow avoiding whoever was stalking me. I couldn't just march in a straight line back
I
through
don't
the
know why he
forest.
didn't. I guess because he needed service. But yeah, I'm glad he's gone back to the car and not just sitting there. But I'd be a bit like concerned. I'd be a bit like worried. I mean, they could still break into your car though. That's the thing, though. I think I watched another story of Mr. Nightmare. This wasn't on. This wasn't in any of my reaction videos, but I remember there was a hiking story where someone like didn't want to stay in their car, so they ran from a car or something. It's like a pizza delivery driver or something, some woman like over here somewhere. I can't remember, but yeah, like I said, and they were safe too. I don't know. In that scenario, I don't feel like I would be comfortable. I don't feel like I would be comfortable going back to. But I mean, it probably to the safest place to be honest, because you're surrounded in your car, you're locked in the car. But then also they could just break in instantly, like just like break into the door. Yeah, yeah, it's a tricky situation. I don't know. Don't know. No idea.
That was asking for trouble. I thought for a second, before concluding that I'd have to try to walk in a semicircle back to my car,
Yeah,
hopefully avoiding any kind of trap someone
you're
might set.
probably gonna get
I
someone.
walked parallel to the cliff for a while before entering the woods from a different angle. I hadn't bothered to analyze this area of the forest, though, so I pulled up the map on my phone and prayed my navigation skills wouldn't let me down. Things were going well for a while. I hadn't heard a single unusual sound behind me or in front of me. I might have spoken too soon, though, because not 30 seconds after having that thought, I heard a twig snap from my left. I turned to look, but didn't see anything. A few minutes later, I heard another sound, this time from directly behind me. My blood ran cold as it
Yeah,
dawned on me
I've
that
got
it was one
chills
from the
down my
front.
spine.
I picked up
Here
the
and
pace again,
there.
settling into a light jog.
I don't know why my body just like went in shock. Like, obviously, they're not up to the scary part yet. They're usually up to a jump scare. But like, I just got see that like there's chills. Like, literally, my hairs are up for no reason. Like the way he said that, like directly behind him, and then they did that crunch sound again. That I don't know. That just sent chills down my spine. I don't know what I would do in that situation. Like seriously. Whoo!
Weren't terrifying enough already. I stumbled upon something that brought my panic levels from a 5 to a 10. It was a makeshift campsite, literally tucked away in the woods. There were 12 or so logs sitting in a circle around a campfire. Someone had been here recently. I
When it's
chatted along
raining, there's a fire in the rain.
casting glances behind me every so often.
What?
A few minutes later, I heard something from my right. This time, I turned quickly enough just to barely
The
see
sound
someone's
effects
foot
are good.
jump behind a tree. That was it for me. My light jog instantly turned into a full-on sprint through the woods. I didn't care how loud I was being.
I love how I wasn't actually as scared as I was.
As I ran, the sounds around me continued getting
Nah.
louder. It was clear that I was being chased. They weren't even trying to hide it anymore.
Ooh,
I
chill.
continued running, afraid to look behind me. At one point, I couldn't resist the urge anymore.
Don't look.
My shoulder. I counted at least 6 people, all of whom were wearing white and charging toward me. I kept running, knowing my car wasn't far.
No. I'd be so far gone out of it.
The next few minutes were the most terrifying moments I've ever experienced in my life. Imagine being overwhelmed with exhaustion while the threat of death looms over you. I couldn't slow down. My life literally depended on it. Finally, I saw my car in the distance, and right behind it was a police officer. I reached his car and keeled over, almost throwing up before he even had a chance to speak. I turned around, and those people that had been chasing me were nowhere in sight. The cop told me that he had gone ahead and called AAA, which I was beyond thankful for. I gave him a full police report, and what he told me was chilling. Apparently, Utah houses the largest population of Mormons in the country, and it isn't uncommon to encounter woods folk in unmarked forests. The specific forest I was exploring actually had a very rich history, especially as it pertains to woods cults and religious groups. The cop told me that I had probably stumbled upon one such group, and that I was stupid to explore a random part of the woods. In all honesty, what that cop told me all those years ago was probably true. I still can't wrap my head around this, though. If they were mad that I was infringing on their land, why not just tell me that? I don't see why they'd feel the need to stalk and chase me through the woods, especially after slashing my tires. This experience is still something I think about all the time.
Plot twist: the cop is in cahoots with them. Just kidding. Damn. That was terrifying. That was like a 9.5. If I had 6 people chasing me in an excluded area where there's nobody, there's just woods on both ends, out in the middle of nowhere. Nah. You escaped life or death. You should like that. I'd love that cop after a while. I start loving cops after a while. But damn, that was scary. That was terrifying. Damn. Just saying. Just saying. Woo! Anyway, yeah. That was good. That was a good video. Next video. Matthew Rome. Was it Rome or Rome? Hold on. I want to say whose name was it. I'm always interested. Matthew Rowe. I thought it said Rome. Rowe. That makes more sense.
I'm not going to call myself an expert hiker, but I've been avidly enjoying the activity for a few decades now. I've traversed all the major trails in America, and I've been to over 75% of this beautiful country's national parks. As such, I've had to find new ways to excite myself. I recently picked up a new hobby, scouring Google Maps for vast, unnamed forests and just exploring them. It's a little unconventional, but I think the added excitement is worth the risk of getting lost, or at least I did. I carry a pack of homemade route marking stickers that I periodically slap onto trees so I don't forget my way back. As I pass each one, I pull them off the trees so as not to leave any litter behind. I'm surprised more people haven't picked up on this trick. It makes getting lost in the forest nearly impossible. Anyway, there was a slightly more daunting task ahead of me this time around. I had decided to explore Dudley Town Forest in Connecticut, which I'm sure would give any normal person pause. If you don't know, the whole town has been abandoned since the 1800s, and there are all sorts of creepy accounts about strange things and stuff like that. You should do some research on the place if you're interested in that sort of thing.
I am very interested. What was it called again? Sorry, I'm ADHD.
Carry a pack of homemade route marking stickers
Wait, where did you go to?
National parks. As such, I've had to find new ways to excite.
Wait, what was it called again?
For a few decades now. I've traversed all the major trails in America.
Wait, what's it called?
I'm not going to call myself an expert hiker, but I've been avidly enjoying the activity for a few decades now. I've traversed all the major trails in America I've been to over 75% of this beautiful country's national parks. As such, I've had to find new ways to excite myself. I recently picked up a new hobby, scouring Google Maps for vast, unnamed forests and just exploring them.
I thought it
It's
was
a
named.
little unconventional, but I think the added excitement is worth the risk of getting lost. Or at least I did. I carry a pack of homemade route marking stickers
What
that I
was the park
picked
called?
up on this trip. It makes getting lost in Connecticut, which I'm
Okay,
sure would get
I'm gonna search that. Dudley Town, Connecticut. Dudley Town.
do some research on the place if you're interested in that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
Already
not
done.
though. I'm not superstitious and I don't believe in the ghost stories. Technically, this forest is off limits to the public, but
No.
that hasn't
Demonetized.
stopped me before. When I saw it,
Demonetized.
I was basically guaranteed to not encounter anyone in those woods, which is usually what I go for. I'm also from New England, so the drive actually wasn't so bad.
Where's New
I entered
England?
the woods around
I've
noon to
nothing.
ensure that the sun didn't go down before I finished hiking. My first impression of the woods was honestly pretty freaky. I had heard that it was dead silent in there. I was surprised to discover that it actually was. You don't really notice or appreciate all the sounds of the forest until they aren't there anymore. Imagine closing your eyes in a silent room and only being able to hear your breathing. That's what it was like. To be completely honest, this silent phenomenon wasn't something foreign to me. I'd been in forests void of animals before. I kept walking, placing my stickers as I went, trying to shake the eerie feeling the forest was inducing. I kept thinking I would eventually stumble upon an animal or at least some indication that there was life in there, but I had no such luck. After a while, I was honestly hoping to encounter a person even. That's how unsettled I was.
Um, I would be very unsettled. You know me. I probably said this in many videos before. I got a lot of paranoia. I like silence and sounds when it's in my own home, but if I'm in a forest where it's surrounded by lots of woods and it's like you could encounter anything out there, and you're not really much in a safe environment. You're kind of in like they said in the other video, like an secluded area where again, you could encounter any. You're not. I'm definitely not going in there, especially when you. It sounds silent as hell. You know. Nope. That is very unsettling. My paranoia is up over 100 now.
Pretty soon, though, the silence of the forest stopped bothering me so much. For the
What?
first time since I
God no.
stepped foot in those woods, I was calm. The
Are you
feeling
kidding me?
didn't last long, though. Out of nowhere, I picked up on a sound that sent the uneasiness rushing back in. It was like a wailing kind of moaning sound, the kind of sound you might imagine a wounded animal making. That's the best way I can put it.
That's terrifying.
I
Woo!
still have trouble describing it, even to this day.
Hell no. If I heard that, I'd be gone. What are you talking about? If I heard, I'd be out of there. In a heartbeat. No questions asked.
It was especially creepy since it was the only sound in the whole damn woods.
Damn.
I paused and listened, trying to figure out what it could be.
A
I
human
had
being.
never heard anything like it.
A
There was
demon.
a chance it could have been a whistling made by the wind, but there wasn't any wind to begin with, so that didn't make sense.
Oh, if I heard
I figured that
whistling,
was
I'd be
most
out of
likely a wounded animal, even though I knew it probably wasn't. I walked away from it until the sound faded away. You're probably wondering why I didn't just turn around and leave right there. I wish I
there. What
had
was
an answer to
that?
that question.
Was that in like a
But I
towel
told
something in the
myself that
camera?
if one more creepy thing happened, that would be it for me. As I walked, I started thinking to myself, how would an animal even get wounded in a forest like this? Like, was there someone hunting in here? There's no way I could have missed a gunshot. Maybe the hunter had taken the shot before I was near shot. Maybe he neglected to put the thing out of its misery.
What is it with all these camera angles? I've noticed in this video there's more camera angles. Like, where did Mr. Nightmare get this video from? Because I don't think it matches with the story, but it might. Who knows? But it's doing. Someone's doing this with the camera. It's kind of very unsettling because I'm waiting for something to pop out. Like something kind of popped out. It was like a pair of underwears. he was holding. But like, yeah, where did he get this footage? The directing in this is amazing, but it's very unsettling too at the same time. Feel like something's gonna pop out, like just jump out in front of you. Damn.
Did someone really do that, though? It was hard to imagine. All these thoughts and more were bouncing
Stop with
around
the
in my head
camera.
when I stumbled upon something. On the tree directly in front of me, there were honest to God carvings. I know it sounds cliche, but I'm being dead serious. The carvings weren't symbols, and they didn't look like letters either. Just random slashes and bits of missing tree bark. I started looking around and saw that several of the neighboring trees were covered in the same marks. That was it for me. I turned around without another thought and began walking back, unsticking my trail markers as I passed them. I'm a curious person by nature, and even I was thinking, screw this. I followed my trail markers for a while before seeing something in the distance I hadn't seen before. There was what looked like a bear's den up ahead, or at least a cave of some sort. I stopped walking,
Thank
confused.
God.
I know myself. There was a 0% chance I would have overlooked something like a bear's
I'm
den,
sick of that.
and that's when it hit me. My trail markers should have been shoulder high, not waist high. My blood ran cold. I
What?
turned around and began sprinting back the way I had come, constantly looking over my shoulder. How could I have been so absent-minded? Someone had moved my stickers in an attempt to lure me into that cave. But how? Was it really possible that someone had been tracking me this entire time? I didn't have time to think all of it through. I was busy focusing on getting the hell out of that forest. The issue with that, though, was that I literally had no idea where I was going. Without those trail markers, I was as good as lost. I kept running, not even trying to be quiet. It would have been pointless anyway. The forest was dead silent, apart from the sounds I was
Yeah, I was
making.
just gonna
I
say.
stopped to catch my breath and
I
let
was
out
doing
a
the
grunt,
camera angle
waiting
again.
for signal.
Stop
For
doing the
some reason,
cameras.
I did have a bar. I found my parked car's location on the map and figured
It's
out which
doing it
direction
more.
I
It's
was to go.
constant.
It wasn't far.
I can see it through the
Just
camera.
like that, the signal dropped. It didn't matter though. I knew where I was going now. And that's when the wailing started up again. Only this time, it was twice as loud. I ran faster than I had ever run before, even though my most fit years were behind me. The sound seemed like it was coming from right behind me, but every time I turned to look, I couldn't see anything. After the worst 10 minutes of my life, I finally reached the edge of the forest and the wailing stopped abruptly. I jumped in my car and sped off before whatever had been chasing me had a chance to catch up. That day ruined hiking for me. Here's my rational explanation for what happened. Some hermit or woods freak lives in those woods and noticed me before I noticed him. He then, for whatever reason, tracked me and messed with my trail markers, hoping to lure me towards that cave. I'm assuming he had a whistle or something that made that wailing noise, which is why it stopped so abruptly once he realized he wasn't going to catch me. I know there are holes in this explanation. Like, how could someone blow through a whistle for that long while simultaneously running at full speed? I'm open to anybody suggesting explanations. Maybe there's a reason that forest is off limits to civilians.
That one was more eerie and kind of a bit like disturbing, like every time. But I didn't think that one was as scary as the other one. I'd go about maybe an 8 or 7.5, 7.5, 8. I'll go an 8 because of the dead silence of it all, but it was probably about 7.5. But I don't know what I'd do in that situation. Like seriously, I have no idea what I'd do in that situation. Whoo! Chills. Damn, that was very disturbing. That was fucking hell. That was really, really disturbing. Shit, shit. Anyway, damn, that was about probably 7.5. I'll give it a 7.5. I think that's a you didn't, but yeah, that's kind of disturbing. The silence of it. That was more like eeriness, like a 9.5, 9.10. Give it the eeriness of it. Hell, whoo! I had chills down my spine. At least you didn't have 6 people in white chasing you. Just saying. Oh, imagine that. The stories flipped together. That'd be scary. Yeah.
When I was was younger, my childhood home was the most
That
famous
camera
squat
angle thing.
hangouts. There were a few reasons for this. My dad had a massive man cave in the basement with an almost unlimited supply of beer. Plus, my parents usually let us drink down there and left us alone for the most part. I lived on a pretty large plot of land, and my house bordered a decently sized woods. If you were to walk through the woods from my house, you would find yourself on a dirt road. On the other side of the road was the reservoir, the spot that has had my heart since I was a kid. I've cut countless holes in the reservoir fence, so many in fact that the Water Commission stopped repairing them. After all, it is illegal for any civilians to trespass on reservoir property. As a kid, though, it was my sanctuary. I'd go there to smoke, to get away from my parents, to swim, to think. It truly was a beautiful place, and probably the only thing I miss about that era of my life. My friends and I were shooting a few rounds of pool in my basement with some obnoxious EDM music in the background, when my friend Chester had the brilliant
Bloody ads. No.
hike through the woods to the reservoir. The boredom was beginning to kick in, so we all agreed. Plus, the sun hadn't gone down yet, so it wouldn't be a nightmare trying to navigate. There were five of us: me, Chester, Rick, Jasper, and Hassan. I can't remember too many specifics, but I'm pretty sure Rick and Hassan snagged some beers for the journey. They were the drinkers of our friend group. I had already had a few drinks, so I didn't want to overdo it. The reservoir was huge, so even after crossing the fence, we still had some walking to do. It was honestly still a little muddy in the woods from the earlier rain, but we were already committed to this plan. There was a cliff on the near side that we usually chilled on, so that's where we went that night. After a while, though, we decided to keep walking and hang out on the far side of the reservoir. In order to get over there, we would have to walk along the near side to the end, where we could cut across to the other side.
That's a beautiful
Then we'd be
view.
able to walk along the far side until we reached this really smooth section that we used to call the beach. After
The
about 20
beach.
minutes of walking, we found ourselves on the far side of the reservoir. Finally. It was then that stuff started getting weird. Hassan put his hand up and pointed into the distance. Remember, we were on the far side of the ovular-shaped reservoir, but we hadn't walked all the way down to the beach yet. Hassan was pointing to our right, where we realized that something was moving toward the reservoir on the same side that we were on, albeit much further down. The five of us quieted and kept watching as the dark figure slowly made its way towards the water. We were all kind of excited by this because it meant we might have some kind of encounter, which we usually welcomed. As the figure made its way towards the water and out of the woods, we realized that they were dragging something. The further they got, the more we could see. Eventually, we realized what was being dragged: a large black garbage bag that clearly had something relatively heavy inside of it on account of how slowly the person was moving. Now, I don't want to make any assumptions, but there have been a couple bodies found in that reservoir over the years.
Yeah, it's a body. Pack your bags. Let's get out of here. We're gone. Kids, kids, we're out of here. We're out of here. Um, Never come back to this place ever again. Okay? Good. I don't know why I did that. But no, seriously, hell nah. A dead body, and you only just have just said that there were dead bodies. Americans, I'm gonna assume this is in America. Americans are always so like, and I'm probably gonna be very controversial. People gonna have a controversial opinion probably in this, but fuck it. Um, there's a dead like they just act like it's normal. Like, oh yeah, there was a dead body here. Yeah, it's all good. No, that it got swept away at like yesterday or something. That's all good. We'll come back the next day when they're all done. So if I knew there was a dead body and there was probably a murder, more than likely, I would not be going to that location anymore. Screw that. Forget about all of that. Like, no. Dead serious, I'm not going back to that location. That reservoir. Like, no, no, nope. Not today. Not ever.
So in that moment, we quickly assumed the worst. We weren't smiling or even
Zoom.
talking
It
anymore,
is the
just
worst.
staring quietly at the figure dragging what we guessed to be a body towards the water's edge. After reaching the water, he knelt down over the bag for a few minutes. We couldn't really tell exactly what he
He
was doing
probably
from
could
so far
see
away.
you.
We figured that was a good time to get out of there, since he was distracted. Before we could leave, though, Chester spotted something else that stopped us in our tracks. Three more figures emerged from the woods, two dragging bags. The third figure was carrying a kayak over his head. I honestly started feeling sick. I lived only 10 minutes from one of the most crime-ridden towns in America, so if this was somehow gang-related, that would have made a lot of sense. The first man we noticed got into the kayak, while the other three helped load one of the bags onto his lap. He rowed out to the middle of the reservoir, and we watched as the garbage bag disappeared below the surface. He rowed back to the shore and repeated this process twice more. And then, like a scene from a movie, my phone rang. The annoying tune cut through the silence like a razor blade.
Why didn't you put your phone on silence when you saw the person? I would have been like, on silent, while the other person was watching to see if anybody was gonna come chasing after them. But no, I would have put that shit on silence. Why would you? No. People on their phones nowadays, like, I'm barely even on my phone nowadays. Like, yeah, I'm on my phone more than, like, old people or something like that. But, like, I'm barely on my phone. And I would not have my phone turned on unless I was taking pictures. There would be no phone calls calling when I'm going out with my friends. I'm sorry, but I flip my phone onto silence. That's just the kind of person that I am. But I'm just saying, in that scenario, like, yeah, you're screwed. Literally, now they've heard your phone or they've heard something from the distance, and now they're going to probably track you down. They probably can see you. They're probably spying on you right this second. Like, seriously. Yeah, it is out of a horror movie. Yeah, no, I'm out.
Couldn't mute it fast enough.
Peace.
The four men froze,
Ooh,
turned
made me
in our
jump.
direction,
Did you see
which
that?
is when we ran. And just like that, the sanctity of my backyard reservoir was gone.
Oh, bloody ads. That's creepy.
Was gone forever. Rick shot a glance over his shoulder and yelled out that they were following us. It was the scariest moment of my life. Running in a forest is actually insanely difficult. Factor in the threat of death, and it's twice as bad. We ran all the way back down the bank, cut across, and started making our way through the woods on the near side back to the hole in the fence. I don't know if it was the nerves or the alcohol or both, but to save my life, I couldn't remember where the damn hole was. I reached the fence first with my friends close behind, and they began panicking when they saw that I was tracing the fence aimlessly, searching frantically for a hole that could have been anywhere. We ran along the fence. I was ready to give up when Rick pointed ahead of us and yelled. It was just a few feet away, and we bounded for it. As I was helping Chester through, we heard the sound of a tree branch being stepped on not far behind us, and I knew they were closing in. The chase didn't end there. We ran through the woods all the way back to my backyard. We were relieved to have made it. It was then that Hassan called the police. We told them what happened, and they
What is
surveyed
with that?
flood from my house immediately. I knew I was going to get heat for trespassing, but I didn't care at that point. My friends were relieved to be safe, but I wasn't as relaxed. The path from the reservoir to my house wasn't super far. They could have easily followed the tracks we left on the trail.
Oh, no shit.
Eventually, the police arrived and listened to what we told them. The police searched my property for any signs that we were followed. My stomach dropped when they actually found one. There was a set of muddy footprints that led to my backyard fence, which I told the police weren't ours. They asked if I was positive, and I told them I was. Why would I jump my own backyard fence? Luckily, the police didn't find anyone hiding on my property. So they left and told me they'd keep me updated about the reservoir situation. To my surprise, they actually did. After a few days, the police fished out three bodies from the reservoir. No surprise there, and it was a huge news story for a while. My parents and I were terrified for a long time, knowing that some criminals knew where we lived. For months afterwards, my mom swore she saw people in the woods at night, and even claimed to have seen a camera flash one night. This incident was actually one of the main reasons we moved out of that house. Fast forward to today, and as far as I know, police were never able to find any sort of connection or make any arrests.
That's
The
terrifying.
reason I'm writing about this now is because I recently stumbled upon a depressing news article about a teenager drowning in that reservoir, which brought all these memories back. That place is definitely cursed, and I still wonder about all the tragedies that might have happened there that no one knows about.
Yeah, I would be freaked out too. That one was like a 9.5, 10. Okay, I'll give the first one a 9. I don't know. This one's about 9.5 too, but this one's the scariest so far. Whoo! Damn, if someone was chasing me, I'd be freaked out. Seriously, I would be freaked the fuck out. Just saying. Yeah! That was my reaction to Mr. Nightmare 3 Disturbing True Hiking Horror Stories by Mr. Nightmare. Damn! That was terrifying. That was terrifying, yeah. Got scared out of my life. That moment. I'm very hyperactive at the moment. Probably the ADHD and autism in me. But yeah, no. I'd be so far out of there. Seriously. Like, no. Like, that was terrifying. The last one, well, chasing you again. Like the first story, the 6 people, not five. There were 6 people in white, like chasing you. Like anybody chasing me, they'd probably outrun me because I'm not really fast. I'm more fast walker than a runner. But yeah, no, terrifying, terrifying. That chills down my spine. And the fact that the last story was scary because they had the whole body in the res- reservoir. Like, no, no. And they just assumed, like, oh, yeah, maybe they weren't following. Maybe there wasn't. Assumed there was a body. No, there was a body. You encountered somebody dumping a body. You didn't assume. Like, no. But yeah, very, a lot of secluded areas, a lot of, dangerous locations, and a lot of, utterly serious and scary places like the forest that I would definitely not be going to, especially by myself, and during nighttime where you can't see anything. During daytime, I mean, it's still scary during daytime, but yeah, no, unless I was with someone. But again, it'd probably be during daytime as well. But yeah, no. No! That's what I say. No! But yeah. Anyway, not yeah, but no. Anyway. They were scary. They were scary. Yeah, that was my reaction to Mr. Nightmare hiking stories. Yeah. Anyway, please subscribe, turn the notification, and click the bell beside you. I love you guys so much. Mwah! Thanks for watching. Bye!